Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the 22nd Annual Family Cafe. I'm Jeremy. I'm here with Joe once again. How's it going, Joe?
It's going great, man. How are you?
Not too bad. Had a nice little break between the morning session and this afternoon session. Once again, this is our Roundtable Saturday. So we have two roundtables happening today. We covered autism this morning, and now we're going to be moving into our Cerebral Palsy Roundtable. Just want to remind everybody that one of the reasons people come to roundtables at the in-person conference is to ask questions and connect with other people who have similar experiences that they do. So we certainly encourage you to share your questions and your comments with our panelists in the Facebook comment section right there underneath the video on Facebook.
Yeah, and we will ask them as we go and when we can as we're moving through the roundtable. So thank you.
And I do know that our panelists have a couple of the more common questions they're going to talk about amongst themselves here at the beginning as we get things rolling, but we certainly will leave plenty of time to get to the questions you share with us. So with that, I'd like to welcome Kathy Seacrest. She's been a friend of the Family Cafe and a volunteer at the event for many years, and she always does the Cerebral Palsy Roundtable there at the conference, and so she's here to host our online version today. Welcome, Kathy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. So hi, I'm Kathy Seacrest, and I usually run the roundtable every year. Been doing it for, oh my gosh, I would say the past 10 to 12 years. Can't think right now. Pandemic's gotten to me. Anyway, so I'm so glad that we're still able to get together through Zoom, thank goodness, and meet and still connect. So I have some people on the panel here with me. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce myself, and then I'm gonna have everybody else introduce themselves as well. So again, I'm Kathy Seacrest. I am the mom to 5 beautiful children. One of them is Brandon, and he has cerebral palsy. He was a 28-weeker at birth, and he weighed 2 pounds, 15 ounces. And my story is, they basically told me that he was going to be a vegetable and to put him into a hospital that we would live. And thank God for me. I was a young mom, but I said, no way. I'm just going to go on life. And I made sure that I had him all his therapies. I did all his doctor's appointments. And I just made sure that I gave Brandon every possible opportunity to grow. And then came along the Family Cafe, which over the years, because I think I started the second year coming, and we're 22 years now. So I always enjoyed every year getting more information and meeting people and learning new things. So one of the things here, usually when we're at the actual event, people will come into the room, we introduce ourselves, and everybody's connecting and getting new ideas for their children. So for instance, my son's 26. I have someone on the panel that's my age that has cerebral palsy, and then of course another mom who has a daughter who's older. So it's nice for the parents who are starting off with a diagnosis that their child is going to have cerebral palsy and see that where it's going to go, how far they will succeed, and that life is still good. And actually, I have to tell you, I am more active, I think, than I ever would be, because Brandon keeps me completely busy with all the activities and things he does. He's a DJ, thanks to my friend Sherry, who runs a beautiful group called the Royal DJs. Plus, all the activities from doing baseball, he runs through 5Ks to Special Compass. He does cheer, but he's good at it with his wheelchair. So anyway, so I'm going to turn it over now to Sherry, let her introduce herself. And then do I stay muted or do I unmute? Mute.
Oh, hi everybody. I'm Sherry Hazeltine, and thank you, Kathy, for inviting me. Usually you see me at Family Cafe with the Royal DJs. It's our music group that we started about 8 years ago. And we're so sad we can't be there in person this year, but next year we'll be there, I'm sure. But we're in South Florida, and I had a son named Rex who would have been, I guess, 24 this year, but unfortunately he passed away about 1.5 years ago. But he had cerebral palsy, and he was my whole life. And ever since he passed away, it hasn't been the same. But I'm not here to talk about how sad I am. I'm just here to say that he made my whole life. He was a wonderful boy, and he was my only son. But everything I did revolved around him. He was the joy of my life. But he was so active. He had the best. He had the best life. And him and Brandon were friends. And they did everything together. Lots of stuff. Like she said, they were in Special Compass, the Royal DJs. So if anyone ever says if you have a disability or you're differently abled, your life isn't as good, it's certainly not true. Not at all. And I don't know what else to say. I'm an attorney in Lake Worth, Florida now. We moved after my son passed away to Lake Worth. We used to live in Delray, and I do guardianships, guardian advocacy more than anybody else in the whole county because it's my passion. So that's it.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. And a little bit more, Sherry is a special needs lawyer, so she has a little bit, she knows a lot about guardian advocacy. So if anybody wants to ask any of those questions, you know, because I know those are some things that we look at, especially early and later as they get older. So we'll go forward with that. And then now I'm going to introduce Diane.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. Hi, my name is Diane Cantor. I live in Margate, and Kathy and I are friends because of the kids and cheerleading and the YMCA. I'm a mother of 7 children. Sarah is my last. We did adopt her. She started out as a foster child. I don't mean to say never planned on adopting her, but we did not plan on it until they wanted to put her in a group home. And I had her for almost 2 years. Said, no way, not with all the therapy she's had. Of course, the doctors told me I'm crazy. She's never going to do this. She's never going to do that. Well, guess what? She cheers with Brandon and she bowls and she does everything. We are having a little more issues with tiny seizures. So we're trying to work on that. I feel like I have a wonderful neurologist, and that's about it. I mean, she's just the best thing I could have ever done. Because if she had left me, she would have been put in a group home and probably thrown in a crib, and that would have been it. But she walks and she talks and she does everything. So, and I really thank you for inviting me. And Kathy, you're just the best. I just think, I don't know about Mallory, but you're just the best. I love you. And I thank you for inviting me. Okay.
Thank you, Diane. You're the best too. Okay, so next, I'm going to introduce my daughter, Mallory. So the reason why she's on, and I'll let her talk about herself, but she's Mallory. So she's Brandon's PCA. So through MedWaiver, she was able to have a job working with him, and she's my right hand also with him, and I'll let her start.
Hi, my name's Mallory, and I'm the sister to Brandon and Jasmine. I love them, especially Brandon, only because we have such like a really close bond and everything. And I've always been there for him, and he's just amazing. I love my brother, no matter what. Thank you.
Echoes. Okay, thank you, Mallory. Next, I would like to introduce Marjorie. Marjorie, unmute yourself. So Marjorie's been my friend from like the longest time. I met her at Family Cafe many, many, many years ago. How long has it been that you've been coming to Family Cafe?
Ever since it started.
Okay, so I started the second year. She was there the first year. So that's how we've known each other many moons. So, and just before Marjorie starts, Marjorie is kind of an inspiration to me because my son is wheelchair bound, she's wheelchair bound, and the stuff that she does and she's accomplished and is amazing. And that's why you could just they're gifts to us, our children.
Thank you.
So Marjorie.
Hi, I'm Margaret. I've been coming to the cafe ever since it started. I missed a couple of years, but anyway, like Kathy, they told my parents that I would be better. I would, they told me that I would not be able to do anything. So I was adopted by them, and at 2 days old, I got diagnosed at 4 months, and I had the everything from bowling, horseback riding, and now I'm a dancer and I'm a performer. And I would like to introduce my friend in my right hand. Today, he will elaborate on my story.
Okay, well, the quick version of it is Marjorie has been involved in mixed abilities dance since her early 20s. Marjorie is amazing for many people with cerebral palsy, and that she just turned 54. And as such, she has considerable experience in this. Marjorie performs with an able-bodied dance partner or partners. She is sometimes able to walk out of her wheelchair with a great deal of effort. If you want to see what determination looks like, take a look at her walking performance. Marjorie has been an active choreographer.
You will find it on the video right away.
The performance she's referencing here is one called Gimp Gate, which she performed with Pioneer Winter in 2016, and subsequently the video of the piece ended up going out to a number of dance events, and she and Pioneer won the 2016 Los Angeles Dance Film Festival.
And not for kids though.
Yeah, okay. But the thing is, they not only won the audience favorite award, they won the jury favorite. So out of 74 submissions, 15 selected, and Marjorie and Pi scored both at the top 3 places. The piece, as Marjorie said, is not entirely, shall we say, suitable for work. Well, because it does include some language that is reflective of some of Marjorie's experiences, Marjorie's attitudes, and things Marjorie's encountered. The soundtrack is unique, to put it mildly. Marjorie also has been choreographing for quite a while. She's choreographed a couple pieces this year, including for the Jerome Bell dance company. She also functions as a speaker, has inspired many people throughout her life. And I personally I was always a visual arts guy. I was never interested in dance until Marjorie got me interested in dance. And Marjorie continued to expand my horizons, and to the degree that basically I now have for about 7.5 years been taking care of Marjorie.
So there you are.
So Marjorie, one thing I would like, you went to college, you have a degree.
Yeah, FIU. My primary bachelor's degree is psychological social work, but my minor is this, and I was the only physically able person in the whole program to this day.
Yep. Thank you, Marjorie. And so Marjorie is accomplishment, because basically they told her mom the same thing. She will never accomplish anything, go to school. Her mom mainstreamed her. Her mom said, no, she's going to do everything that the typical child will do. And look, she went to college, she has a degree, so it can be done. And there's more. So I'm on to the next. Thank you, Marjorie. So, okay, thank you. We'll talk more. So now I'm going to introduce Amanda. Amanda, unmute yourself. Amanda you were a parent of a younger child that's been diagnosed in the spectrum with CP. So I'll let her tell a little bit about her story, and after that, then we'll start talking more. Go ahead, Amanda.
Okay, so my name is Amanda. I live in Monroe, North Carolina. My daughter was diagnosed with autism and several other different things. She was born at 30 weeks. She was 2 pounds, 11 ounces. And, you know, this is just kind of, you know, another way I think of it as a blessing, and having my daughter, and, you know, I wouldn't change it for the world. Just a lot of patience and a lot of time. And, you know, she's everything to me. She may be a pain in the butt, but I love her.
So actually, Amanda, she used to live down here in Florida, and hopefully next year when we have Family Cafe, she'll be able to join us, because she's in North Carolina, of course, and there's not much stuff that goes on up there that she can learn about. So look how Family Cafe goes ahead and is able to reach out past Florida to people to give them information
and the resources that we need as well. That's kind of how I see it. Up here, she does have the intervention, she does all the different therapies, but there's not many things to do. I found a couple sensory rooms since we've been here, but obviously with the coronavirus going on, I'm not allowing her to go there because I just don't want anything, you know, I don't want her to get sick or anything. But I wish there was a little bit more resources available, and I wish people would educate themselves and know what autism's like in girls versus boys, because it's a lot different. And a lot of people think that girls can have autism.
Well, thank you very much, Amanda. I'm going to ask you to mute yourself now. And
okay.
Okay, so now, Joe, I'm going to throw a question out that some people always ask. One of the first questions, I'll have a parent that will come in and they'll introduce themselves, and they'll be the new parent with the new baby. And they've just gotten the diagnosis that their child's going to basically have CP, cerebral palsy, and they just want to know how to cope and start off. And they're still in that real sensitive stage. And basically, and I'm going to start off, and then I'll let Marjorie and Sherry and Diane chime in. When that happened to me, I just didn't let anybody tell me anything different. I just went forward. I made sure I did all my interventions. I made sure I mainstreamed him in school. I did everything that I could do as typical for him with his disability. I didn't let his disability stop him, or his diagnosis, I should say, his diagnosis stopped him from doing anything. If I was going someplace, he went with me. And if it was to an activity, to a park, to wherever, I just, you know, and if he couldn't do the activity, I found a way to accommodate it. So don't just take it each day by day. Know that we have a blessing, and that there's a reason, or I don't want to say reason, but going forward, we're going to see the accomplishment. So just don't let anybody tell you the word no. Say yes. Don't listen. Go forward. Okay, Sherry?
What was the question?
That was one of the questions I was asked. What's a question that you're usually asked when you were out and about with Rex? You know, people would ask, because, you know, we get silly questions, and from a new parent, or a parent, you know, that's been maybe halfway through.
I think as an attorney, they'll ask me, what can I do to protect my son or my daughter to ensure they're eligible for public benefits as they grow older. And so I talked to them about different planning documents, special needs trust, ABLE accounts. You know, also when the child turns 18, you're no longer their natural guardian. They're totally considered competent under Florida law to be in charge of themselves. So if you wanted access to their health information, or be in charge of a settlement or an inheritance they may receive, you have no legal authority over them if somebody didn't want to bend the rules for you. And a lot of times agency will bend the rules for you, say a bank or a doctor or a nurse. But in this day and age, they're not doing it so much anymore. So we're seeing situations where, your child is, we call them child, but it may be somebody who's 21, 22, but they're over the age 18. We're taking them to the emergency room. You have to drop them off, and that's it. They're not even giving you access to their health information or letting you make healthcare decisions for your son or your daughter. So it's a big wake up call right now in this day and age. So those are the kinds of things people ask me because they know I'm an attorney. So
Thank you, Sherry. Diane?
I'm going back to what you said, Kathy, about how people looked at our children. And, my thing is, everybody told me, you're crazy. Why are you adopting her? Why are you adopting her? Especially at my age. How could I not? And I've pushed it just like you did. I try to do everything I possibly can with her, and that's what you have to do. Think of them as a normal, everyday child that want to do baseball. Everything is out there for them, and you just have to look for it. Get hooked up with Special Olympics. I mean, they do them for, I don't even know when they start. 6 years old, I think Sarah was playing softball. I didn't like it because it was too hot out, but you do. I mean, they can do things just like typical children can do, and that's what you have to look at. Don't listen to other people saying you're crazy, because you're not crazy. And I even have my older children used to say to me, Mom, you're crazy. But Sarah's 22 now, and I wouldn't trade her for anything. I may want to beat her once in a while, but no. But you have to look at them, that they can do everything that every other child has done. Maybe different, but they could do it. And that's what the new parents need to look at.
Well, one of the big things I used to get when I would put Brandon in timeout, they're like, how could you put Brandon in timeout? He's already in timeout because he's in a wheelchair, right? I'm like, that's his way he gets around. The wheelchair is how he moves.
Right.
When I put him in timeout and I lock that brake, or I take the remote to now it's the power chair, and I turn that remote off, he can't do anything. He's stuck, and that's timeout for me. And that's, he's typical. He's differently able, but he's typical in all the many ways of how our kids and adults like to act, even through the teen years.
Right.
Now I'm going to hand it off to Marjorie.
Yeah. Hi. The question that I get is, especially with other people that are disabled, is how you get how you live by yourself.
How do you live by yourself?
Yeah. How you have your own apartment. Well, you have to fight. You have to get with ABD, and you have to find out what your resources are and your services, and wherever you are. I'm from Miami, District 10, so you have to find out. You have to go to meetings. You have to find out. You have to get on. It's called support living. I'm on support living. They supplement. I receive a stipend every month. It's not enough, but it's better than nothing. So I get SMBI, and I make it. I struggle financially, but I still do it. They say my parents know, but don't listen to them. You have to fight for what you have to fight for what you want, and that's why I have what I have, because my mother, my father raised from full cost. He was an attorney, and you have to go to Tallahassee. You have to go to Tallahassee sometimes in Washington, because that's what it takes. you have to fight for and you have to like make phone calls and ask questions and you and find out what your resources are, and that's how I got my own comment. I've been living on my own since I was 24 years old. So that's the main question I get.
Yeah, thank you, Marjorie. So if you don't mind me recapping a little bit, basically, but Marjorie is in supported living and she gets help that way, but she's also on, there's resources that you need to sign your children up for very young for med waiver and things like that through APD. APD is a very good advocacy to go through to help us. But she's living on her own and she has her PCA, but it's her friend to help take care of her, and it can happen. Thank you, Marjorie. Don't forget to mute yourself.
Thank you.
Okay, Amanda, are you there?
I am.
Is there any, in the CP part of it or anything, is there any questions that, having a child with a disability that people ask you or and that you think that's important?
I do. I do have some people like question Kimber how she is in the doctor's office, or we go to her grocery store. Why does she act the way she does when she has her braces on? They would ask her what's going on. And I feel like sometimes I should make a pamphlet and just pass it out to people so they can educate themselves. Because I try not to get frustrated, but when I have the same questions over and over and it's all the time, it kind of gets to me a little bit. But then I realized over the last little bit, because she'll be 3 next month, just to let it go. And I kind of just ignore people. I'm like, yep, that's how she is. Like, don't look at them. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I find that people, when they ask questions, because we could be out in the store, I think that they're not trying to be mean. They're curious and they want to educate. It's kind of like that's the way they're educating themselves. They just may not ask it in the right way or come across it in the right way, but I don't think they're just trying to be, I really think they're trying to educate themselves and learn more about it. They just don't always ask the right way. And maybe there's not a right way to, to ask. And so understand that, that's what I do over the years, because I get questions all the time and, I just answer them. And the greatest thing about it is that like Brandon and Jasmine, they get a lot of people talking. They want to, for instance, like I haven't taken Brandon out during the pandemic at all, like even right now, because I know people like to talk to him. And I don't want right now, I'm still trying to be careful because they want to be nice and they want to talk and they ask questions, so it's just, I think it's just the way they don't come across the right way.
Right. I'm totally agree with that.
I'm going to think of it that way because she's so cute anyway. So, all right. Mallory. Oh, okay. We'll come back to Mallory. I'm going to go back to Sherry. Sherry, any other questions that maybe that could be helpful to our group, our panel, that you are asked?
No, I like what you just said though, because so often I'd be with my son in public and he did look a little different from others, and we get stares or unsolicited comments from other mothers about how to feed him, how to wipe his mouth. Oh, you've got, always got this on his face, or why aren't you putting a sweater on him? He looks cold. A lot of things to push trigger buttons with a mom like me. And my first response was always a little bit of anger, because like, why are you giving me this unsolicited advice, first of all, or why are you staring at him like that? But I realized that as a mom and my son, we were both there to educate people, and I need to just calm down, be kind, and educate them and tell them about Rex and give them the full story. So anyway, that just relates to what you were just saying, Kathy, before about Brandon. It's a continual process of educating people, because they don't have a kid like this. They have no idea. So it's just it's going to be that way for our whole lives as moms or dads, just continually educating, and try not to get angry at other people, because they really just don't know. They just don't understand. That's it.
Okay. Did I have any questions yet from Facebook, Joe?
Well, we had a couple we were been talking about here a little bit. Can we talk about school for a second? We were thinking that maybe you guys could offer some advice for folks who are just beginning to navigate the school system as new parents.
Yes. Anybody want to start off first? I'm gonna let Diane start off first with that one, and then I will chime in. Go ahead, Diane.
Well, Sarah was at many schools. We did pretty good till we got to middle school. And then she was in an ESE classroom. She was basically in a wheelchair quite a lot in 6th and 7th grade because she had a lot of surgeries. And they called and they told me that they had an issue with her desk. So I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, we have to put her in the corner. Well, that was as far as the conversation went. I hung up, put my ass in the car, and went up to the school. And there she was, sitting in the corner facing the wall because they didn't have the proper desk. Well, guess what? I pulled her out of that. So I didn't care what there was. I offered to buy a desk, anything. Just let her feel part of them. Let her turn around so she could see the kids. I still to this day do not understand why that happened in a public school. So I pulled her out. I put her in South Florida Jewish Academy, and we're not Jewish. And it was wonderful. They did a great job. And then, of course, we went to high school, and she was physically abused twice. Nothing was ever done. She had a slit across her back from another child who was special needs. School did nothing. Police did nothing. So I transferred her over to Taravella in Coral Springs, and we did fine. Initially, she started at United Cerebral Palsy.
United Cerebral Palsy.
Yeah, they were great. I thought they were great.
They were.
But you can't let anything go, because if I had let go, then she would have been abused and cut again the third time at Coral Springs High. And I'm sorry if somebody's here that knows Coral Springs High, but there was no excuse for that. You just have to keep your ears open.
Thank you, Diane.
And listen to what they say, what the kids say.
So I'll basically give you a little bit on the school system that through my years, like also, this is much earlier. Things are a lot different because in the school system now, because I still help out a lot because I have an 8-year-old, and the schools are, Diane, don't forget to mute yourself. They are mainstreaming themselves. The mainstream is their mainstream, and the kids, from what I can see, it's good. But the main thing is like when you start them in preschool, you usually go with the school that is special needs for them because you want to be able to have that IEP started. The IEP is very, very important because it's like gold. Whatever is written in that IEP is what they have to do for your child, accommodate your child, have the proper equipment for your child, and you're going to be your advocate in school for your child. If you're not working and you're able to be that room mom or be the volunteer, do that. But just know that you just, like Diane says, you have to always keep your ears out, and that's anywhere. That's for a typical child too, as well. But just know, in the sense of an IEP, that they're gold, and that's your literature to go through school. Brandon, I had a wonderful time through elementary school and middle school. High school was a little rough, but I guess I had to let go, and I couldn't be as involved as I was with his 2 previous schools, which I think that was hard for me. I mean, he had wonderful teachers and stuff, but they were like, Mom, you can't always be here. And I was like, okay. But it was a learning experience for me, but it turned out good because each of his schools that he was involved in, he had amazing teachers. He was mainstream, of course, and went out for specials. When he did get to high school, it was more of an ESC setting, which was wonderful, but he would still be involved with the other kids at the school. Like one of Brandon's things was he used to think at high school the kids were upset with him because when classes would change and he would come out to change, they'd be like, "Hi, Brandon," and they would give him like the high five and keep going, or give him the hand butt. And he never got, because of CP, it kind of takes him a while to get his thought process out. So the time he got to say hi, they were already passed by. But that just shows you the point that those kids took the time to acknowledge him as they were walking to class, but they had to hurry up and get to class. So, and I would have to tell them they're just in a hurry, but they still acknowledged you. But there's just always be involved, and be involved with everything with your child, which you will, because you're basically the right hand. Like Sherry said, that when they do turn 18, that things kind of do stop for us because they become an adult per se. So you do have to not so much with school. I don't know if Sherry, when you get time, you chime in. I think school is easier, but yes, if and your doctors that know you, but if you do go, say, to a procedure at the hospital and they're over 18, and if they say, "Oh, I'm not having that surgery," and they want to listen to your child or your adult child, they're going to, unless you have your doctor and nurse that say, "Okay, no, they know, they're just fussing." But that is one of the things to look at when they turn 18. I haven't done the guardian advocacy yet. I need to. That's one thing I do need to work on. But that is something to think about. Sherry, I'm going to chime it over to you. What you feel about the school things in the school system they can look out for and do, and the positives too, because I want them to hear the positiveness of the school system as well.
Yeah. Well, when you have a special needs child, and they're just a baby, the story is just still to unfold. You have no idea what they're going to be capable of. So as a young mom and with a young child, you think, well, okay, they're 5, we're going to put them in a normal school with normal regular kids and everything's going to be fine. So you try that first, and then with my son, I mean, everybody's different, but with him, his muscles, he couldn't use hardly any of his muscles. He was the smartest kid in the world, but he couldn't use a digital device. He couldn't, so they tried everything. So we started out with regular school. He was probably in 5 different schools, maybe 6. I can't even remember now. But I'm just saying, it's a story that unfolds. You never know, and you have the greatest hopes of all, for your child. But as they get older, you just don't know what they're capable of. So I always say, experiment. Don't get stuck in one school. If it's not right for your child, switch schools. Don't leave them there just because you think you have to. So, and there is a lot of wonderful schools in Florida. You just need to talk to other moms and people like Kathy and other parents that have disabled or differently abled children to find that out, because you want to be at a school. Maybe, with my son, because he wasn't able to use his muscles and he couldn't talk, but he was so smart, we ended up at a school finally in Lantana, which is where he spent the last years of his school years, with a staff where we tried everything. He could never use a digital device, but he was safe. I knew he was safe there. He was medically safe, and nothing bad was going to happen to him.
And they were trying to grow his brain.
Yeah. So.
Yes, just don't be scared of the school system. Just stay involved. That's my main thing I would tell you. Just know the IEP is very valuable. That IEP is very valuable, and that they're supposed to accommodate your child. Like for Diane's situation, Sarah should not have been put in the back of the room. They should have figured out a way to get her a special table that she could sit out and accommodate her.
Right.
Because she's every part of that class as well.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Joe?
Yeah. This is Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy.
I had one thing. I think you touched on this a little bit in that last answer, but it's something I'd kind of like to emphasize. I'm the parent of a kid with cerebral palsy who he just graduated high school.
Congratulations.
That's exciting. Yeah. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are about, getting a kid with CP ready to transition into adulthood. I often found that it can be difficult to sort of decide as the parent and the person that advocates for your kid when they're little, how much to help and how much to encourage them to be independent. So what kind of advice would you have about sort of negotiating that transition from where you're helping them a lot to getting to the point where they're a little bit better to operate and ready to operate independently?
Okay, so for me, all right, so this is a good question for me because I had to learn to let go. That was hard because, I was always the one in control of how things are going to be for Brandon. So, but one of the things was, I think it depends on how differently able they are. I mean, yes, if you have a child with CP who walks, it's a little bit different for them versus the one that is in the wheelchair, just on the accommodations of maybe what school they're going to go to, or what they're deciding to study, past high school. But you do have to, I mean, you still have to be there, but you have to let them grow and let them ask questions. And it's hard. It's hard because it's, you want to still be taking care of everything. And because you've been doing it for so long, think about it. We got them fresh out of the womb. And then then all of a sudden at 18, 22 years old, we're supposed to go, oh, okay. Now you're on your own. You're not, so it's hard. I'm going to have Diane chime in that one, because I'm probably just a really bad one, because I still like to hold on. Like, I'm very protective, and still stay protective. Always stay protective. You too, Jeremy. Okay. Because I mean, hey, in the end, we're their advocates, because not only are we their parents, we're their advocates. Okay, Diane.
I'm being told all the time, let her make her own decisions. Let her answer the question. But I guess she's 22 and she's so used to looking at me as to what she's supposed to answer. And that it's so hard. So you try to sit there like this, and then it takes her a little time to answer it. So here I am answering it. I remember I had an APD worker came to the house, and we're sitting at the dining room table. I'm answering the questions, and he kept saying, stop answering the questions. So he sent me to my room. Okay. And he said to Sarah, do you drive? No. Do you have a license? So a driver's license. She says, yes. I yell out the door, no, she doesn't. It's her ID. So he yelled at me again. And then I don't know, so finally he came and closed my bedroom door. It's just something, if you've done it for 22 years, it's hard to stop. And you want the best for them. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to totally let go. I'll never be able to let go.
I mean, the funny side of me would say, hey, guess what, guys? We could get that second degree now, or go back to school with them and get our own degree, be in the same class, right? Okay, right. Joke, guys, joke. Just Jake. Okay. Okay, Sherry.
Oh, you mean you want me to add to about the transition?
Yeah, add to like what you think. I mean, and you see it from all of us, so.
Well, just quickly, when a parent comes into my office, we go over the list of rights that everyone has. There's 13 rights, and we go over each right, and we decide which ones should be delegated in view of what the person can do or they can't do, and what they need help with. I mean, it's very black and white. Whether your child can go vote or not with assistance, or manage their own property, like if they get an inheritance, or whether they can make their own medical appointments or manage their own healthcare decisions right now, whether they can do that or not. So the rights that they can manage on their own, we leave with them. And then the rest we delegate to the parents. If they improve with age, which they normally do, we go back into court and we restore rights. We always, and the judges love it when we go in to restore rights. So, if you're going to protect your son or your daughter, you need to protect them. It's Florida, by God. So we make it legal, because we as parents are not going to always be around forever. I mean, it's something we don't think about, but think about when we're not around, who's going to really protect them in that cocoon that we've got them in right now. Nobody will do it as well as we're doing it. So
thank you, Sherry.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I'm just real fast, Marjorie, shortly, I'd like you to comment on it, just because I think it would be helpful for that person who's 50 something years old that's been through the whole transition.
I'm going to say a lot of colleges have their own disability services. So I went to Miami Dade and FIU, and they both have disability services office. So what you do is you go to before you enroll, you go beforehand, and you go to the
So the parent goes with their adult child to the school to enroll or check out the school and let them know that they are the.
They have disability services office. It's college. They have disability services. They have an office. So you go to that disability service office and you discuss with them, what are we need, what are options, and then you go from there, and they take good care of whoever you are, and you don't have to worry about them.
Can I add something, Marjorie?
Yeah.
One other thing which is interesting, and we encountered this when Marjorie was exploring her options for going back to school. Colleges often have their social services students, the future social workers and the like, or people who are going to be working in psychological endeavors. They will volunteer or maybe be assigned to work with people who have disabilities. And these people are actually quite professional, quite understanding. They're young enough so that they're flexible. They haven't really developed a whole lot of preconceptions, and they adapt very well and work very patiently with people with disabilities. So it's a situation which you may find yourself actually having an easier time of it than you would think.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. And that's true. So a lot of when they go into the schools, whether it's a tech school or a college, they do have services. And I did find too, I know from one of the parents that this is Brandon behind me, that they have buddies that that go to the school that will help out that individual. So that's good too. So I hope I kind of touched some of it. Was that good, Jeremy? Or we have more questions, Joe?
Oh, no, that was definitely good. Here's another one that I think comes up a lot when you're thinking about CP. I know that mobility and transportation are kind of big issues for people in the cerebral palsy community. So I'm just curious, in your experience and the experience of all your panelists, how have you guys dealt with challenges around transportation and getting around?
Okay, so I can really touch on that one. So transportation is an issue, especially when you're supporting a child around that has a wheelchair or a power wheelchair. In my case, I had both, at one time, because when you have the typical wheelchair, it is a lot easier. When Brandon was smaller, I basically put him into the car seat or put him into the car, strapped him in, and put his wheelchair into the back of the van. As he got older and he got his power chair, but that makes him more independent. So that and plus the fact that he's getting heavier and bigger, that's his way to get around. So I had to invest in a special needs van, which has the lift, has the ramp that comes out of it. It's modified all inside. They're quite expensive, but there are some mobility places out there that do help you finance. I mean, I was kind of smart. I would just take my tax returns and save them every couple of years for a good down payment, because I'm on my third van. Was my third? Yeah, my third. And but they're a lifesaver, because honestly, that's my Ferrari. That's the only way that my son's able to get around town and to the activities and thing that he does if I don't use the other services like the tops and things like that, which, you know, they can, I mean, for people that don't have a vehicle, they're still great. I mean, yes, they have their disadvantages to them, but it's, you know, it is an investment and it's something to look forward to. So, I mean, I will tell the parents that if their child is going to be in a wheelchair most of the time, and they're looking at power chairs as they get older, you want to start investing into a van, and because it's your lifesaver. And as far as transportation, then don't forget too, there's also the transportation like Tops, Palm Train. I'm just naming some around here. I don't know, up in Northern Florida, that will help get them to their services, to if they're working, to their jobs. So at least we have that backup as well. Did I answer it good?
Yeah, definitely. Any of your other panelists have any thoughts about that?
Yes.
The way that they've gotten around it?
Kathy, I'm really surprised. You're going to tell me that none of these programs would help you with a van?
When I got my first van, there was a $1,000 voucher, and I think it's still around, that I think MedWaver helped me out with back in the day. Like, we're talking, you know, when Brandon was about 10, 11 years old. But no, there's not really a whole lot of help out there. Trust me, if I knew it, I would grab it, but there's not.
Yeah, you would. Knowing you would. I am just shocked.
I mean,
I'm really shocked. I thought for sure there was something
No,
out there that would help you.
It's kind of like, you have to have a vehicle anyway, then your vehicle is modified. So they help you with the modification side of it. That's what that 1,000 goes towards, that when I used it back then. But I mean, there are
what's that pay for?
Just part of it.
What's that $1,000 pay for? A strap in the car?
Yeah, but there is places you have to be creative. I mean, I've heard of people getting their vans paid for through different services, and maybe they'll chime in if they're listening to me, and I can ask some people again. I'll reach out to my group, but people that like help them pay for, say, the modifications of the van, you know. But
no, I'm sorry. I was just shocked. I thought somebody at least more than that they would help you. Oh, that's crazy.
No. Okay. And Sherry, you probably know that in your world, just with with Rex, and then also I'm sure your clients tell you how hard it is with the ones that are in the vehicle, need a vehicle that's modified.
Very, very, very difficult to get. Very hard.
And Marjorie, I think, wants to chime in.
Yeah, when I got my first van, my mother had to buy it. So
her mother had to buy her first van.
Even if you have unrequired of what we have,
yes,
they will buy the van, but they will help you with the equipment.
And what she says is Voc Rehab, they are one, as your adult child turns 18, they will help you to help pay for modifications to a van, not buy the van, but the
modifications. Yeah. So but I have to I don't have it right now. I use SAS, but you have it's investment. Yeah.
Thank you, Marjorie. And also Voc Rehab too. I mean, now that we're bringing up Voc Rehab, that's another good agency to reach out to, because they will help you with the schooling. If your adult child wants to go to school and further education, that's another good resource to check out for the adult world.
Excellent. Well, listen, Kathy, thank you so much. We're about out of time. I really appreciate all of your expertise in this, and I think this has been hugely helpful.
Yeah, and I'm sure that if people have additional questions and comments, you know, you can certainly share those in the thread there under the video in Facebook. And I know Kathy's on our Facebook page every day, right, Kathy?
Every day I'm on there.
So she will definitely respond to any questions you want to post if you're watching this video later. You know, we're always here to answer questions, so please
Yeah.
I'm
don't
gonna
be
go
shy.
back and read through it.
Yes,
Absolutely.
they will stay on the. They will stay with the recording, so you can check
And
it out.
also to say goodbye, I join everybody that has joined in. Thank you, and my Facebook viewers as well. Thank you, Joe, Jeremy, Sarah, Mike, Michael. Thank you so much, and thank you, Tamara and Judith, for helping with the sign language, because that's very, very important.
Yeah.
And I hope we're all together next year. We should be. And what? And Brandon said what?
Bye,
And
Brandon.
together next year. And we got through this. Thank gosh we were able to do this virtual. I'm so happy for that. At least we got to connect. And
Yeah,
I'll see you all
Exactly.
next year, 2021.
Absolutely. We're very
Thank
much
you.
looking forward to being able to see you in person again. So we have our fingers
Yes.
crossed that works out the way it should as well.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Bye, Brandon.
Panel.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Amanda.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay,
All right.
well, we had another wonderful session this
We did.
afternoon.
We did.
Two excellent roundtables today. So thanks to presenters in both those sessions for
Yes.
that. Before we sign off, a couple pieces of housekeeping. And we'll be back here on Monday
Exactly.
when we have two sessions planned at 11 and 2. What do we have going on Monday, Joe?
On Monday at 11 o'clock, we have effective strategies for managing child anxiety and distress about COVID-19. It's from our military track, and that is with Dr. Jill Ehrenreich May, so from the University of Miami. So she will be doing that at 11 o'clock. And then at 2 o'clock, we have Home Automation is AT from our good friends over at FAST.
Yeah, two more informative sessions on Monday. So definitely come back and join us for that. Just to remind you, this event runs through Friday the 19th. So we'll have 5 days with two sessions each at 11 and 2 throughout next week. We also want to thank our sponsors once again, who include Career Source Florida, Disability Rights Florida, Sunshine Health, and Able United. Able United is Florida's disability savings program. They want to know how you're spending your extra time at home. So now until June 30th, enter their Able at Home iPad giveaway for your chance to win. You can learn more about that at ableunited.com.
I think you covered it.
Did I?
I think you
I
did. I
done
think you
everything
got
I need
everything.
to
You
do,
got everything.
Joe?
And we've only said it every day for the last 10 days. So I think
Well,
we're
you
good.
know, people
We're
might
good.
forget.
That's right.
All right. Once again, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in and being here with us. And we will see you on Monday at 11.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good Saturday.